Good morning, everyone. It is 11 o'clock. We'll call to order the July 23, 2025 meeting of the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency Board of Directors. With that, let me ask everyone to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we proceed with the roll call, Jason, did you want to?
Supervisor Long, it's my understanding you're attending the meeting remotely. Is there anyone in the room with you that's 18 years of age or older?
No, there's no one in the meeting room with me. And as you can tell from my voice, I am sick. Luckily, I'm getting better. It was worse.
Thank you.
So I'm asking the board if it's okay that we add me to the meeting. I just care about you and we want to get you guys all sick too.
Thank you. We appreciate that. All right, roll call, please.
Chair West.
Yes.
Director Long.
Yes.
Director Mohart.
Here.
Director Cravioto.
Here.
Director Tremblay.
Here. All right, let's move on. Agenda review. Any proposed changes to the agenda?
Chair West, there's no changes from staff.
Thank you. We'll proceed next then to public comment. Anybody wishing to address the board on matters not otherwise on today's agenda is welcome to approach the microphone and take that opportunity now. All right, hearing no voices and seeing no movement, we'll go on to executive officers' comments.
Board Chair, just one additional item. When we look back at the last meeting, we had an appeal from that we heard from R.N. Daly, and there were only 4 board members present, and the vote was 2-2. There was not a conclusive action that was taken, and so we're planning on bringing that back before your board for a full hearing before the full board on the next meeting, which will be in August.
We have both a special meeting and a regular meeting scheduled in August. Did you have a?
I don't have a date. We'll let the board know, but we plan on bringing it back before the full board so that all 5 members are present.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to board member comments. Anyone? All right, then hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. There are only 2 items on the consent agenda. Unless someone has a question or a comment, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Tremblay move.
And is there a second?
Seconded.
And a roll.
I have a question. The report, the budget report, as an action item, adopt the fiscal budget. That, we're not approving that, is that correct?
No, we're just on the monthly reports we get on actuals to budgets, that's all.
Fine.
All right, need a roll call, please?
Chair West.
Yes.
Director Mohart.
Yes.
Director Long.
Yes.
Director Tremblay.
Yes.
Director Cravioto.
Yes.
All right, let's move on then to item number 10 on the agenda.
Good morning, Chair West, members of the board. My name is Ryan Booth, agency staff. I'll be presenting item 10 in your agenda packet on the agency's administration and closeout of the $15.2 million DWR Sustainable Groundwater Management Grant Program. I'll give a brief background on the grant progress. So we applied for this grant in 2022, and we got approval from DWR. And in September 2022, the agency and sub-grantees entered into agreements with DWR. So we started in 2022 And in 2025, all projects have been completed and finalized. And on April 29th, 2025, we have received closure letters from DWR. And we are today presenting an update about this grant. So this grant funded 5 projects in Oxnard Subbasin with a total amount of $7.6 million. And this included 3 projects that were completed by United Water Conservation District and 2 projects that were completed by Fox Canyon. And in Pleasant Valley Basin, the grant funded 5 projects as well, with a total fund amount of $7.6 million. And so 2 projects were completed by Pleasant Valley County Water District, 2 projects were completed by Fox Canyon, and 1 feasibility study was completed by the city of Camarillo. I'll give a brief description on each project. So I'll start with Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency monitoring wells drilling. We have completed this, the construction and the drilling of 4 nested multi-depth wells and 4 shallow depth wells in 8 locations. And the grant covered the majority of the cost of this project with a minimal contribution from FCGMA account. And I also wanted to mention that this project was managed and completed with the help of the county staff. And I wanted to highlight that we removed location 20, and this resulted in a significant money saving. And here we see projects that were completed by United Water Conservation District. There are three projects. The first one is the inverted siphon replacement project, which is an extension of the conveyance infrastructure in order to increase the flow capacity through the canal, and which in turn will increase the recharge downstream. The second project is the monitoring well construction and data collection. So United completed the construction of 21 monitoring wells in 5 locations. And this data can be used to inform the design of phase 1 project. And the last one is the Laguna Road Recycled Water Interconnection project that connects which is mainly an interconnection pipeline that connects the Pleasant Valley County water system with the United's PTP system for more recycled water conveyance. And this project had a budget shortfall. That's why there was a need for inter-basin and intra-basin transfer of surplus fund. So these projects were completed in collaboration with other agencies like Pleasant Valley County Water District. The grant funded 2 projects that were completed by Pleasant Valley County Water District. The first one is the recycled water connection pipeline that connects the east portion of the Pleasant Valley County water system to the west portion to move water more effectively. The second project is the private reservoir modifications program that would increase the winter flow harvesting and in order to provide additional storage in wet years. And the last project is the Camarillo Stormwater Diversion to Water Reclamation Plant feasibility study. And this study concluded that dry weather stormwater diversions to the water reclamation plant are feasible, while the wet weather stormwater flow diversions are not feasible. And the map shows the location of the Camarillo reclamation plant. So, in conclusion, all projects have been completed and finalized successfully, and the total grant amount of $15.2 million was fully utilized, and we have received a very good performance evaluation from DWR. So with that, I would say that collaboration was a key for the success of these projects, and we look forward to keep this going and implement more projects that would improve the conditions of the basin.
Thank you, Raya. Any questions or comments from the board at this time? Hearing none, let me go. Any questions or comments from the public on this item?
There's a microphone over here.
Good morning, Chairperson and the board members. I'm sorry to hear that Director Kelly is not feeling well. I hope that you get well soon and fast. I'm Mariam Broll. I'm United Assistant General Manager, and I would like to make a comment here, if I may. On behalf of United, I would like to extend our appreciation to the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act grant program. Thanks to this support, United successfully completed 3 critical projects, as Ryan Noor explained. The inverted siphon replacement project that enhances and upgrades the treatment conveyance system, the recycled water interconnection pipeline on Laguna Road that facilitates conveyance of a new supply that would be recycled water to our customers around the PTP or pumping trough pipeline, and the monitoring well construction and data collection at Point Magoo in support of the extraction barrier and brackish water treatment project. These projects significantly contribute to and strengthen the long-term sustainability of the Oxnard subbasin. These efforts also highlighted strong multi-agency collaboration among United, Ventura County, Pleasant Valley County Water District, the City of Oxnard, and Fox Canyon GMA staff. We are especially grateful for the continuous support provided by FCGMA management, the Department of Water Resources, and Kennedy Jenks throughout the process. As Raya explained, we were short on funding for the recycled water, and through these collaborations and negotiations, we were able to move funds from one project to another and from one basin to another to complete this project. And United remains committed to the stewardship of our groundwater resources, the delivery of reliable water supplies, optimization of our existing facilities, and the construction, operation, and maintenance of efficient water supply and delivery systems for the benefit of all our stakeholders and the basins within our service area. We look forward to continued collaboration with FCGMA and our partners across the county on future opportunities. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, Chair West, if I could just make a comment. If anyone's looked at this grant closeout letter, they gave us an overall grantee performance rating of an A, which is huge. That's a huge collaboration with all of those that were doing this work. And I just don't want to skip out on saying that, because there's a lot of documentation that goes with all that funding. And the state will try to give us less money if they can. So to actually get that done, I just want to say kudos to everybody. That's a lot of good work for this region, and just want to appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to second what Supervisor Long said. United had numerous meetings on these three projects, and the work that we did in making this work, and the back and forth and the scrambling that we did at the last minute to come up with this funding. We had a number of special board meetings just on that topic alone. And I think it reflects the growing recognition by the community, all the community, that we have to do these projects. Water is our lifeline to the future, and these projects are critical to that. So my compliments to United staff for working its way through. The PV staff working with us on this interconnect, that was another giant lift, and all the other projects that we're doing in the area. I think it speaks well that we're good stewards of the resources we have and the funds that are available, and when they're available, I think we make compelling arguments to the state, and I think that's why we wind up getting funds incrementally. But if you look over the large timeline, it's significant funding from the state and or federal government to make these systems work. So my compliments to this GMA, to the cities, and everybody involved in getting this done. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, this is a receive and file only. We'll move on then to item number 11.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. For the record, I'm Dr. Brian with the agenda. So this is a hearing and report on status of agency vacancies and recruitment retention efforts. So in January of 2025, Assembly Bill 2561 came into effect. And this bill requires that the information detailed under the statute be presented to the board at least once per fiscal year at a public hearing and prior to adoption of the annual budget. The draft FCGMA budget for fiscal year 2025 is scheduled for adoption later in this meeting, hence this item. The required information concerns the status of vacancies, recruitment and retention efforts, and necessary changes to policies, procedures, and recruitment activities to help address obstacles in the hiring process. So just to take you back a little bit, this is the FCGMA organizational chart presented to the board as of January 12, 2024. And in this organizational chart, you can see that we had a number of vacant staff positions that were there. And by the 20th of January, the GMA manager had also retired. And by February, the clerk of the board position was also open at that, was also vacant at that point in time. So essentially, we had less than half the staff that was required to do the work of the GMA. Considering at this point it was 11 positions, but I think we had about 4 positions by the time we got to February. And I recall making comments a lot about that we need extra help, which is a thing that has died down a lot since then. I don't remember the last time that I made a comment on that. So thanks to the efforts of the board and the recruitment effort that we did last year. This is how we look now, looking at as of 7/18/2025. This is the org chart. I still have the interim executive officer here as Jeff Palmer, who's still doing county and FCGMA work. We're in the recruitment process. We should have that position filled with a full-time dedicated executive officer running the agency at that point. We've filled the vacancies that were there. We also have Arnie Onslow as extra help available to help onboard the new executive officer. We also have Ms. Riddell as an extra help for the groundwater specialist position, helping the transition because we have all these new staff. In the work plan, the two proposed positions, one which is the hydrologist position one, and the MA or administrative assistant. These are just proposed based on the staffing analysis that was done in the recommendation that we have a phased approach to filling these vacancies.
Chair West and Board, if I may sort of interject, the executive officer position has been filled. The person has accepted the position and is scheduled to start on August 11th. We haven't announced a name formally just because the person is in the process of announcing to his current employer that he will be leaving. So I'll hopefully within the next couple of days we'll be able to announce that name formally. But I just wanted to let you know that that's been addressed. Secondly, the county has done interviews for the groundwater manager position, and we're in the process of that second box down. We're in the process of working through some HR issues to fill that position as well.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. So, I basically said all this on the last slide, and thank you, Jeff, for just clarifying those positions. So the recommendations are to conduct a public hearing to receive the annual information report required under Government Code Section 3502.3 on the status of agency vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts, and receive a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. We will hereupon convene that public hearing for the purpose of receiving this report and receiving any questions or comments from any of the public with respect to this item. Hearing that this is receive and file only, is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
And a second?
Mulhern,
One
second.
second.
And a roll call?
Tigers.
We verified that she's still alive. Sorry, Kevin.
And a roll call? Yes.
Director Long.
Yes.
Director Mohar.
Yes.
Director Calvillo.
Yes.
Director Trent.
Yes.
All right, let's move on to item number 12, the GMA budget for 25-26.
Chair West and Board, just as an introduction, before I'll be giving a presentation, but we at our last fiscal committee, we got a number of comments. We've tried to include those. And we start off with sort of the operating budget. We've included a sort of a revised slide, sort of a fiscal position slide that summarizes this rather than a combined overall budget. We tried to sort of clarify just from a fiscal position how they work. And then we recommend, if you have comments or adjustments, we recommend that, of course, one of the actions is to do a mid-year budget review so that as we work through the year and costs are incurred and revenues accumulated, that we provide that report to the fiscal committee and the board for any revisions or adjustments or discussion that you may find appropriate at the meeting. So I'll just
So for the record, I'm going to present item number 12, which is the FCGMA budget.
We can barely hear you.
Okay.
Right, just bring that microphone closer.
I'm always eating the microphone at this point.
Good.
It's not my microphone. Okay. So I'll be presenting on the draft budget for fiscal year 25-26 for FCGMA. And as Jeff mentioned, this has undergone significant reworking, and we had 3 fiscal committee meetings to discuss the draft work plan budget. And you know, each year the board must adopt an annual budget. And in these fiscal committee meetings, a couple of recommendations came up. One which was to lower the groundwater sustainability fee by $5 per acre foot to $24 an acre foot for fiscal year 25-26, which is water year 2026 under the GMA. And two, to revise the budget format presentation, which is something that we've tried to do. We've been doing this on the fly, so some of these numbers may not be that accurate because of that. Three, formalize the fiscal policy regarding an annual contribution to the operating reserve. Also to repay the loan from the designated surcharges account that was put to the operating in 22-23, and for adopt the proposed budget. So the structure of the budget materials that we have the operating account, the designated accounts, the statement of financial position, the plan, proposed budget report. The proposed budget report this is the second iteration of this report, still in draft form. We still have quite a bit of work to do on that as well. Just starting off with the structure that we have, just looking at the agency accounts. So we have the designated GEMS account, which is the groundwater extraction management enforcement surcharge. And this basically is used for litigation costs, including agency counsel. And this was adopted by a resolution by the board. And then we have the designated surcharges account, which is to be used which is not to be used for routine agency operations. Then the operating reserves, which was to maintain $1 million reserve balance based on board direction, but the fiscal committee recommends that this should be 50% of expenditure, or at least $2.5 million. Then the operating account, which has the routine annual operation expenses as identified in the work plan. And the grand total fund balance is the total of all of the above. And just to note that the FCGMA budget does not include water master efforts or accounts. This is purely just for the work done under the FCGMA. The revenues that we get at this point are from the extraction charges, which is $6 an acre foot, set by the enabling legislation. The groundwater sustainability fee, which is $29. But because we're recommending that you reduce this for water year 25-26 to $24 from $25, from $29, that's a $5 decrease. We'll bring this resolution before your board at a later date. And then you have the GEMS reserve, which is $20 an acre foot, and then the surcharges that we have. So looking at the operating account annual revenue, I think the basic story here, I just pulled out some of the big ticket items that are there, and the total revenues that we, the total revenues that we have to date at the end of 24-25 fiscal year was about 7.3 million, and we project this to be about 4 million for fiscal year 25-26, and this is particularly because we do not have the Sigma implementation round one from DWR at this point. So that's why we have that drop in income. At the same time, we're also reducing the groundwater sustainability fee, and so that results in a loss of about 500, 600, I think, from that. And then the annual expenditures, these are just some of the big ticket items. Total expenditures for the fiscal year current to date is 6.64. And for the draft budget, we project that until 25-26, we're going to have total expenses of about $5.5 million. The net operating results as a result of this would be about 692 for the year-end balance for 24-25, and the net operating results for 25-26 expected to be negative as a result of reducing the revenue from the groundwater sustainability plan. Groundwater sustainability fee. Moving on to the designated accounts, we see that these are generally, the net results are all positive or in the black. And we can see that we have 1.25 in the 25-26 draft budget, which is basically moving the contingency to the operating reserves. Like I mentioned, we're ending a net positive results for this. So if we come to the statement of final financial position, this negative almost 1.5 million that we see in the operating account can be offset by the operating account carry forward, resulting in a net positive, which is almost $1.7 million that would still be in that account come the close of 25-26, fiscal year 25-26. Therefore, we can absorb that reduction in the groundwater sustainability fee should your board decide to move ahead and adopt this. The designated surcharges account is about 7.5 million, and this amount is available for use at your board's discretion according to the agency code section, which I have in the next slide. I think the general story on this is that we're in a very good healthy position for us to be able to do more work in the basin. The work plan assumes to have 50 full-time equivalents to proposed positions, assumes no vacancies, full-time executive officer, no staff or LPB water master, and these are some of the things, some of the support that we have for that. I've shown this slide before in the last presentation, but it basically shows the state of affairs in regards to the vacancies that are open at this particular point and what we've managed to fill. So, in summary, the statement of financial position shows a healthy balance for the GMA. Like to lower the groundwater sustainability fee by $5 for water year 2026, which is fiscal year 25-26. The resolution will be brought before your board at a later meeting. And the designated surcharges account, as I mentioned, the agency ordinance code section 5.864 allows you to use it in electricity fee. And we'll have a first dedicated full-time executive officer for the agency, and then we've updated the materials and budget presentation. The recommendations for this item are to receive and file this presentation and adopt the fiscal year 2025-26 budget. And with that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Farai. First, let me start by, I want to thank you, thank the staff, thank the county accounting staff that worked exhaustively with the fiscal committee going over every line item of every draft. As much as I enjoyed the report, I think you buried the lead. The fact that there is a sustainability fee reduction is the first time that I can recall that having occurred, and part of the reason that happened is the having restructured some of the accounting so that it was more comprehensible. It became clear that there was a way to go ahead and absorb some of those costs and reduce some of those expenses. So again, thank you, and I'll look to the board for any other comments. Tom?
I'll echo what the chair had to say. Fiscal committee had 3 long meetings. I want to compliment staff, particularly for all of the staff for the hard work that's been done. I think we're on a good course. In particular, if you had a chance to take a look at the draft budget report from a transparency standpoint, I think this agency is in much better position now in terms of just explaining to the public what it does. So I really want to compliment all of GMA staff. I don't want to single anybody out because a lot of people spend a lot of time on this. But I think I think we have a very straightforward and an excellent budget project. So, Mr. Chair, when the time comes, I'll be happy to move to approve.
Thank you. Any other comments? Lynn, did you?
First of all, I want to thank the work that staff and the committee has done. This is never an easy process, and it is clear to me in comments that were made in other meetings we've had that you folks have put in a lot of work. I do have a little bit of a detailed comment, and I hope you indulge me. If you look at page 4 of 5 of staff's report, and if you look at the second paragraph in that work plan, it says towards the middle or the end, it says in the draft 2025 work plan, staff have recommended resources be directed only towards efforts with higher priorities. For example, due to ongoing litigation, it's my recommendation not to fund progress towards developing a water master or a new database in the next fiscal year. I'm okay with not developing a water market because I believe it has a nexus to the new database, and it's the new database that I think is an error. I do not agree with this recommendation in the second half of it. The feedback I get, and in my own experience in dealing with the GMA's webpage, its database, and trying to answer questions, and then going to some staff to get into a deeper dive and try to find out where the numbers are, or using the web page to be able to get into documents, is sorely lacking. It's an antiquated, old system that has been band-aided over the years, and it's not functional. I believe that every organization needs to have the database of what the users use, functional, up to date, and easily accessible, so we don't burden staff with a series of questions and they get bogged down because we didn't put the time and energy in the database. I don't know of a single bank that could function if you walk in and say, how much is in my account? I don't know. We have problems with the back room. That bank is out of business. I don't know any business that can function when you ask them what's going on in the financial back room. I don't know. Our database is wrong. I believe everything that we do as an agency flows from having a sophisticated database, an easy accessible database, and I believe the water market flows by having that kind of data to show it can or cannot work and to track it. And I believe we need to spend money on this. We need to say to the constituents, look folks, the questions that you're asking this board to deal with, staff to deal with, requires that we have a state-of-the-art database system, and we don't. We need to have a state-of-the-art webpage that we could get into and look at and be able to answer some of our own questions, and we don't. And so I don't agree with that position. And I don't see any funding in this recommendation that will really tackle this at the level that I'm talking about. You talked about in your report that you're going to have an informational or technology entity. I think that, I don't know what that is. I believe that the biggest complaint that I get from constituents that I bump into somewhere along the line is, what the hell is going on at the GMA? I can't get answers on my own. We have a problem with reporting. We have a problem with tracking. We have a problem with updating. We have a problem with access to that information. And I'm not seeing it in this budget. I believe that is probably one of our highest priorities, is to fix the antiquated system we have on an individual grower basis. I come out of you all know, I came out of an industry. And the industry that I was in the airline industry, we live and die on our database. If I cannot upload a flight plan into that computer, that airplane is grounded. And the minute that computer hiccups, you see it in the screen. United Airlines just canceled 15 flights or 100 flights. Why? Because their data center went down. The airline industry, the banking industry, every industry lives on good data. And we don't have it. Easily accessible. I think we need to make this a high priority. If anything, I think it needs to be the highest priority because it controls how money goes out the door and where it goes to. And it flows from having the ability of people to go back into the system and see where their money is or where their water is, what their activities are. And if they have confidence in that, and we give it confidence to every grower, city, entity out there that we service, things will flow that are good out of that. And we have not addressed it in a number of years. I don't know how we modify this budget. And I don't know if we can do it at the 11th hour. I did not sit through the fiscal committee meetings. I'm not on that committee. But I know from the comments I get, the issues that we have to deal with at United has to deal with the same problem, and it all flows from respecting the constituents. And the way you respect the constituents is you answer their questions that they can answer and make it simple. And I don't think that's true. And I think we need to address that. How we address this, I don't know. What I would suggest is that there are some funds someplace.
I was going to tell you where they are.
I need a commitment that, not just to the funds, I need a commitment that this is a priority. I don't want to see this issue come up again and ever tell me this is not a priority. This is the nut and bolts of what we do to make the constituents whole.
I agree with you. And for what it's worth, I had a lengthy conversation the other evening with our soon-to-be new executive officer, and one of his first priorities was this very item, was securing a working database and management system so that not only the staff and the public would have access to the information they need. There wasn't a line item added to this budget for that funding, but there was included, as you saw in the reserve accounts, an operational reserve of $1,250,000 for year 25-26, and to the extent that we need funding to make this happen, there's plenty of resources there to do that.
I would suggest, and we don't have to approve it in this, we always have the right to make amendments, we can do that. I would suggest that we create the position of a data science guru. I don't know what the technical thing is, but every organization has a data programming specialist. In the past, the way we dealt with this for years, all the programming was done by the county. We would put a request, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, and it was garbage when it came back. No offense to the county, but it wasn't a high priority. I believe this is something we should own as an agency. We should make this on the work chart of the folks that we have up there. There is nobody listed as chief data manager or whatever the magic term is for today. That individual needs to have the credentials and the ability, and we need to pay for it, and we need to get the public involved and do some rebuilding, data test it, and if we have to have it come up at a special board meeting or somewhere down the road so we can move money around, I think the community would be pleased if we're spending money on this issue.
Tony?
Can I ask a question, Director or Jeff Palmer? I see that we have $200,000, a line item number 3 for Fox Canyon Online Database Support GSI. Could you talk to that and hit some of those points?
Sure, Director Long and Director Mulhart. A couple of items. At one of your previous recent board meetings, you established an ad hoc committee meeting structure to look specifically at variances and credits and so forth. And I too, like Director West, had a conversation just a day ago with the new GM and reiterated that the foundation of the agency in documenting all the information from the pumpers, all the information on variances and credits and all of that, and all of that data that's the foundation of decision making is a top priority. Really, what that work plan looks like, whether that's one person, whether that's GIS based, whether that's database. Really, I think I would like the input of the new director and EO to sort of have a role working through that problem with the ad hoc committee. But we as staff agree that whole issue that's been building over the years really needs to become current, become accurate, become transparent. And so part of the resources that we put in the budget on the GIS-based portion of the budget was using some of the county GIS staff to assist in that effort with the ad hoc committee and starting to rebuild the system. So Director Mulhart, I hear your absolute concern and direction. We're working toward that. We hadn't identified that as a specific scope item, task item, man hours in the budget, but I think in talking with staff and board members individually a little bit, there is plenty of opportunity for additional appropriation once an attack plan is made on how to make that accurate, current, transparent, both for staff to be able to work with, the board to make decisions, and all the pumpers to be able to clearly be able to access and understand what the current data is. So that it's kind of a non-answer that we're really working on, but I think we're going to put together 2 or 3 pieces to pull that together.
So I appreciate the comments. What I would ask, my ask in this, is that we make a commitment that this data process is a standalone system that we own, that we control, and we have a staff, 1 or 2 people, so we have backup, that program it so that, and then we get, if we have to create a little ad hoc committee of users out there to play with the system as it's developed, not the first day, obviously. But I think that this issue and the money to make it work, I think is you said it, everything flows, I believe it, everything flows from having accurate data that people are confident about and know they can get into their personal account and say, this makes sense, I agree with that. Okay, next person, same thing. We have to rebuild the confidence of our constituents. As we're in this lawsuit because of the lack of confidence for this agency, we need to turn that around. And I'm pleased, I know during the interview process, we brought this up with the candidate, and I believe he's the man to do that. So I agree with that. But we as a board have got to give him the tools and the funding and the direction. And I would ask the constituents out there, engage in the process of saying, what are you looking for? What do you want it to look like? And we need a beta test it with some key people. This needs to be, in my opinion, one of the highest priorities of this agency. If we get this right, I believe a lot of good things will flow out of this, and we now have the opportunity to do it.
Michael?
I guess I just had 2 comments kind of in regards to what you're saying, Lynn. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Right now Fox Canyon really has 2 different systems. You have FCGMA Online, which is sort of the data management system, and then you have fcgma.org, which is more of the public interface. What I was going to say, kind of bringing it back to the proposed budget report, is there was a lot of information in here. It's about 100 pages, which provides a historical and organizational context that I think is really interesting, for everyone, the public. But specifically to fcgma.org, there is now this whole suite of AI tools that are accessible to people. I think one in particular that I think could be really useful to both staff as well as the public is copilot.ai, and it's where you can kind of feed it a canon of your organizational information, and then it just acts as an AI chatbot where you can have live conversations with that. I think for staff, it would make, you know, querying information much more efficient. And then I think for the public, when you had questions about, you know, how ordinances came into play, or, you know, what's my allocation, you know, this could be a pretty powerful tool. To the FCGMA Online, you know, I would definitely pair a lot of what Lynn is saying. You know, on the record services, I think under item 3, the semi-annual extraction and allocation administration, you know, we currently are budgeting around $720,000. We approach semi-annual extraction statements as a people problem, and I think that there are technical solutions that could really help a lot of this process and reduce the labor hours that our staff is facing. So,
Thank you, Mike. Tony?
So Lynn, I agree with what you're saying. And I also agree with Gene's observations and Michael's observations, and Jeff, I appreciate your conversation, your providing context to us. What I was going to suggest is that we approve this budget, make item as part of that, make it clear that as a board priority, that in this FY 25-26 fiscal year, the staff that we make progress toward curing this database issue. We have funds to focus on the issue. But I would like to ask, as a third measure, I'd like to ask the executive officer to come back to the board at the earliest possible time after the EXO comes on, which is what, August 11th, I think, Jeff? With specific recommendations and a course to follow. I have no problem with, what did you call it, the database guru? Science guru? I don't know, but there may be...
Wizard.
But there are different approaches that once the new EXO comes in, they may have some very specific recommendations for us to follow. But so without belaboring it, I would do 3 things. I would, and if it's appropriate, I'll frame it in the form of a motion, which you can come back to later, because you may still want to get public comment, Mr. Chair. But that is to approve the draft budget for 25-26. Number 2, that the board would direct as a high priority matter to work to address the new data, to address this database issue in substantive part during the FY 25-26 year. And thirdly, to request that the new executive officer come back to the board at the earliest possible time in this next fiscal year with specific recommendations on a course to follow on how to accomplish
So,
goals.
so I
That'd be a 3-pronged motion.
okay, so I am supportive of your motion. I'm pleased that the directors are hearing what I'm saying, and what I would change, the only thing I would change, Tony, is that I would not use the term as the earliest possible time. I think we need to set, I would ask that 3 months after the new individual comes on board, we get a status. At the 3 months after that, we have a more detailed status. I want to keep the pressure on and looking at this issue. And I think we need to set a 3-month window, another 3-month window. I'm not asking for a final solution, but I want to know, and the public to know, that we are moving forward on this issue. And if we can get through that first 6 months and make it the priority that I think it needs to be, it will lead to the budgeting process as we go into the following year, and we can have follow-ups at a 6-month. I think we need to use our authority to have and set a specific date, not the statement as soon as possible. I think we need to set that out of the box. Now, if you want to change the months, I'm okay, but I think we need to drive that agenda on this item.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Lynn, I wouldn't set specific months in place. I would give the executive officer, the new incoming executive officer, once they know that we have directed that this is a matter of the highest priority, let them set that timetable to come back to us with this is how this is going to be addressed, in this fiscal year, and then you can utilize the fiscal committee, which is going to have, we're going to be looking at that at the 6-month level, at the end of this calendar year, right in the middle of the FY 25-26 year, to see how that is going, and then at any time during any of the upcoming board meetings, we can direct the executive officer to come back on a specific timeline. I'm just concerned about
Having them overwhelmed.
having them overwhelmed
Yeah.
and putting some, I won't say artificial, but some very, I won't say arbitrary, but some very finite deadlines.
So you mentioned, we're going to do a 6-month review. So maybe that's the first marker. At that 6-month review, we need an update on this topic, and I'm okay with that. I want to keep it front and center to the public that the board is, what I'm hearing is the public wants this issue dealt with. And by setting these timelines, and I'm okay with at the 6-month review, and the fiscal committee will have previous meetings as it's working through. I'm okay with that. I want to make sure it doesn't drop through with our busy schedule and other things. And I'm okay with that. If you make that suggestion, I can support it.
I can go with that.
Let me then turn to the public. Any questions or comments from the public on this item?
Sarah West, can I make a comment real quick?
Oh, yeah, I was looking, go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, I think very highly, and I don't want to miss this for everybody. Does everyone here, we're reducing the groundwater sustainable fee by $5 per foot. That is huge, and I just wanted to say thank you, the commitment to the board and our staff for ensuring that we're doing the best work we can, and also not charging our pumpers for things that we don't need. I just want to state that because as the state of the state and federal, to be able to reduce that is huge, and I just want to say thank you for that. Secondly, I agree with the comments of the directors in regards to our priorities. A thank you to the fiscal committee to really thinking this through. And I also wanted to say thank you to all of those that have been showing up at our meeting and asking, what are we working on? Who is staff? What are we doing? Just those questions alone have really allowed us to dive deep with a lot of the staffing changes that have been and where do we want to go. So I just want to appreciate that because regionally we need to be working together. And concerned on grants, I think we need to be working together on all the grants that are coming through from the state. And so I implore people to bring us together for those, to continue that, because I think that's where we get a regional water source. And I also did comment on the executive director, report, but there's a new report coming out from DWR on subsidence. There's videos from DWR, and I think we need to watch out for that. I'm very concerned as subsidence comes with us and seawater intrusion, what new rules and regulations DWR might be coming up with. And so I also want to make sure as we're moving forward that we're watching that. But I think that the budget is very thoughtful and appreciate all that we're doing, and to get more information to our users I think is extremely important. But I just wanted to state those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, any questions or comments from the public? Make your way to the, one of the details that we didn't discuss about this budget that frankly I think is significant. Folks might recall that a couple of years ago, because of, in order to manage what seemed like extraordinary expenses, the operating fund borrowed $1 million from the surcharge account, and this budget pays that off completely. So I think that's significant, something to, it's something that we had contemplated back then. We actually accomplished it was noteworthy. All right, if there are no questions or comments from the public, we'll return back to,
Even job done.
Yeah,
Please,
Good afternoon. I think it's afternoon. My name is Ian Burchard from the Cayuga Municipal Water District. I just want to extend appreciation to the board, in particular Chair West and Director Tremblay, working on the fiscal committee, and congratulate staff on the budget. From my perspective, it's the most transparent. I've been hanging around these meetings for almost 15 years, and I know from having put these types of budgets together in the past what the lift is for that, and I think you guys have done a wonderful job in making, as several of you stated, in making the operations and the fiscal going on of the GMA and the Water Master more accessible to the public. So just wanted to say thank you and congratulate staff.
Thank you, Ian. Anyone else?
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Reddy Pakala, as you know, I'm the alternate director of GMA and Water Master. I just want to make comments how much improvement has been done with a lot of discussions at the fiscal committee and also a board discussion. Just the discussion you had a few minutes ago about different things, that how we can improve. As my perspective is, we have come a long way, but we still have to keep improving. And customer service, technology improvements, Mr. Malahar talked about, and also the rates. To me, rates is an important issue, whether it's jams or pumping, whatever rates. So how can we keep the rates lower? I would continue to support GMA staff and the board projecting future rates, 3 to 5 years. That will give us predictability. Keep the rates lower, predictable rates, so other pumpers can continue to budget their operations. And I want to thank board members, committee and staff for the good job you're doing, and we'll all work together to make it better for the pumpers. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Anyone else? All right, we'll turn back to the board, and if my memory serves me correctly, we have a three-part motion,
I do. You want me to restate it?
if you'd like. It saves me from
no.
trying to read my notes.
All right. Item one, that this board, make a move that, a motion that this board adopt the fiscal year 25-26 FCGMA budget. Number two, that the board direct staff that as a high priority for tackling in the FY 25-26 year and making progress on in the 25-26 year, that the agency make progress toward a new database. And number three, in that regard, that the board ask the incoming executive officer to come back to the board at the earliest possible time with specific recommendations and a course to follow on how to accomplish item number two. And I guess I would make a fourth item as part of that, Mr. Chair, and that is that the board also requests a specific review of this item at the 6-month budget, mid-year budget review by the fiscal committee.
I'd like to add one add to the motion.
If it's a science guru, I can't.
No.
Okay.
So it's bigger than just the database. So it's a new database and an improved access to information that is the problem. Our portal to get to the information is weak.
How about new database and improved access to that information?
I'm okay with
I'm
that.
fine with that. I'll amend my motion to accomplish that.
Okay. And with that, I'll second the motion.
So there's a motion and a second, we need a roll call first. Okay, you get all of that?
I did.
Okay, thank you.
Can you read it back to us? No.
I can, it's recorded, I can play it
Please,
back.
no.
All right, need a roll call, please?
Chair West.
Yes.
Director Malahar.
Yes.
Director Long.
Yes.
Director Tremblay.
Yes.
Director Fabiola.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everyone. Let's move on then to item number 13.
Yeah.
Where's Water Master stuff now? Thanks for your patience.
Now, if there's any controversy about this, I'd be shocked, but I've been shocked before, so who's got this one? Farai, do you have this? Yes. Okay.
West, members of the board. For the record, I'm Dr. Florida Secretary, and to present item number 13, which is to adopt proposed resolution number 2504, canceling the full installment of the Las Vegas Valley Water Master Basin Assessment fiscal year 2024-25, or year 2024 under the judgment. So, in September of 2024, your board adopted the current water master budget and basin assessment of $64.58 per acre for a final allocation for fiscal year 2024-25, water year 2024, as defined by the judgment. Quarterly invoicing of the basin assessment amounted to $16.15 per acre for the final allocation. And that just shows the 3 installments that have been invoiced at this point, where the 4th installment hasn't been invoiced as yet. Now, at the fiscal committee meetings, which were held in February, March, April, and July, we had budget study sessions which were focused on developing the next fiscal year budget, discussions on the end cash balance, and the needs for water master. And based on the statement financial position that we have for this year, we can see on the draft budget, the 2 last columns at the end, those are exactly the same, with the only difference being one, levying the 2024-4 installment, which would be in fiscal year 25-26, and the one before that, the draft budget 25-26, basically takes that into account, takes the 4th installment into account. If we do that, then that leaves the ending the account balance with about $1 million for the draft budget 25-26. We can forego that 4th assessment and still have about $450,000 in that water master account up till June 30 of 2026. And then we have the 4th installment from that water year kicking in, and that could potentially bring in another $500, $600 to bring us back to $1 million. Or if there's any danger of us not utilizing enough money or not having enough money, we still have the operating reserves, which will have about $400,000 in there. The general gist of this is that I think we're in a good financial position for us to be able to absorb this, and therefore the water master account contains sufficient funds to forego invoicing the 4th installment of the Las Vegas Valley Basin assessment for the year 2024, fiscal year 24-25. Our statement of financial position will remain positive, and fiscal year 25-26 or year 2025 without the 4th assessment. And the fiscal committee's recommendation is that we should not negative the 4th quarter or year 24 basin assessment, and that's exactly what resolution 2025-4 does. And our recommendations, we sit about this presentation and adopt proposed resolution 2025-4, canceling the 4th installment of basin assessment for fiscal year 24-25 or year 2025.
Thank you, Ron. Again, I don't think this should be controversial. It seems like the fiscally responsible thing to do. Fortunately, or for any number of reasons, or perhaps the anticipated expenses were less than expected. As a consequence, less revenue is needed, and that's all this reflects, is canceling that last quarterly installment for the year 24-25. Any other comments from the board?
How about I just say ditto? It just seemed to us on the fiscal committee that this was the fiscally responsible thing to do, but particularly for the extractors.
Kelly, any comments? No? All right, with that, let me turn to the public. Any questions or comments from the public on this item? Hearing none, then is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-04?
Tremblay.
Second.
Tremblay move.
And a roll call, please.
Chair West,
Yes.
Director Mulhart,
Yes.
Director Long,
Yes.
Director Tremblay.
Yes.
Director Provioto.
Yes.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to item number 14.
We've received comments from Jim that it is hard to hear. Everyone speak into your microphone, please.
Good afternoon, Chairless, members of the board, and for the name record, I'm Dr. Farrakis, and for the name item number 14 in the agenda packet, which is to adopt the fiscal year 25-26 disbursements from the board master budget, adopt resolution 2025 -45 approving $60 basic assessment for water year 2025. The judgment appoints FCGMA as a water master to implement the judgment, requires that water master must make management actions by 7 days, requires water master staff to collect basin assessments and fees from water holders to fund management actions and basin optimization projects. Water agency staff prepare the water master budget as basis for the proposed basin assessment. The fiscal committee met to discuss the draft water master budget. We had 4 meetings that will specifically discuss the water master budget, and each iteration, each meeting provided an opportunity for stakeholders to provide feedback. The PAC considered the draft budget at their March 18 and July 17 meetings and provided recommendation reports. Water master staff incorporated most of these recommendations into the final iteration of the budget. The fiscal committee recommendations listed here are to refine the Cayenne SSR study estimates mid-year and approve and authorize expenses of the ASR landowner representative. This is something that came in. We also had a letter from the PAC on this issue, which I'll address later on. And then lower water year 2025 basin assessment rate to $60 an acre foot. Rescind the fourth quarter water year 24 basin assessment, resolution number 20. Which one did I do last? I don't remember.
It was 04.
Okay. The budget is based basically on the separate principal task system for the requirements in the judgment. There are actually 8 because we have the IT services and support, but it's basically water master administration, allocations and regulation, basin management, community coordination and consultations, the budget assessments, Cayenne Aquifer storage and recovery project, legal services and IT services support. For the way that the budget is actually done this time, we have kind of separated the PWA costs from the contract costs so that we base it on actual hours that have been worked and actual wages that the blended rate as well as in the last budget. So the general gist of this is that the year-end actuals to date for fiscal year 24-25 are put in the red. And then we have 2 columns similar to the ones that I just showed in the last item, where we have a projection looking at expenses for fiscal year 25-26 with the fourth assessment for water year 24-4 and without. And so at the end of the day, we have that net negative result without the fourth assessment, which can be absorbed in the next fiscal year because we have a very healthy cash balance such that we'll be left with about $450,000 by the end of the fiscal year. We also putting $224,000 into the operating reserve, such that by the end of the year we should have about $409,000 available for that. Based on the expenses that we have, the total expenses for fiscal year 25-26, we can divide that by 40,000 acre feet, which is the operating yield. In January of this year, the board adopted directed to extend the initial operating yields through water year 2025, such that we keep this 40,000 acre feet as the operating yield, and that will give us a basin assessment of $61.71 per acre foot of allocation. This is assuming this is with Water Master putting a line item into the budget to account for the landowner representative. This is a change that we made. So for those that attended the fiscal committee, you might see fiscal committee meeting on the 15th. You might see that there's a slight uptick in that number. If we have quarterly payments, that will be $15.43 per acre foot. But the fiscal committee recommends a basin assessment of $60 per acre foot, which I think we can still absorb if we do it that way, which is $15 an acre foot per quarter. Future adjustment of the LPV Water Master budget may affect the basin assessment, and we can always review this at any point in time. The Water Master budget is held in a separate account, different from the GMA account, and account staff only charge for time spent on specific tasks with separate codes. That's the same as the remaining basin assessment funds at the end of fiscal year held in the Water Master account for the following fiscal year. And the judgment requires annual audits of Water Master finances and certified audits every 3 years. I'd also just like to make a comment that the staff will now have the opportunity to provide a response report to the tax recommendation report, which we provisionally included in this presentation. And so the recommendations are to receive and file this presentation and to adopt the proposed Water Master budget for fiscal year 25-26 through 2025, and adopt proposed resolution number 2545 approving the basin assessment of $60 per acre foot of final allocation for water right holders and the sources funding for water year 2025 to be provided invoice quarter.
Thank you, Farai. This process was actually even a more involved process than developing the GMA budget. You may have noticed we actually had more meetings on the Water Master budget than we did on the GMA budget, and they were equally long and detailed. Personally, I want to thank Rob Grether and the other members of the PAC that showed up to provide that detailed review and question on every item that we went through, so we could sharpen our pencils and sharpen the budget. At $60 an acre foot assessment, that's almost $5 less than the 24-25 assessment. There remain funds. We anticipate a positive year-end balance at the end of 25-26, and when we get to this point next year, we'll consider again whether or not that fourth quarter assessment is necessary, or whether part of it is necessary or not at all. I think we've consistently done that the last couple of years, where the assessments outpaced expenses, and the plan is to continue to review that on an ongoing basis. So, with that, any other questions or comments?
As usual, I can't improve on the chair's comments, so I'll simply say ditto with a thank you to everyone who participated, from PAC and from from staff.
I guess, this kind of goes to the data management system conversation that we were having earlier, but, right now for operators and staff, there's 4 semi-annual extraction statements. So there's 2 for Fox Canyon, there's 2 for Watermaster, and then 4 quarterly basin assessments. Each one of these provides an opportunity for missed payments, which means staff is, chasing payment. And it just seems like there's a lot of redundancies, especially in the semi-annual extraction statements. So one, since we have some people from the PAC in here, I guess I would see if they would float the idea to the PAC about continuing the 4 quarterly basin assessments and maybe reducing that to 2. That being said, we also sort of have this precedent of removing the 4th quarterly basin assessment, so I don't necessarily want to get rid of that opportunity. But then, maybe as a tag along to the earlier conversation, I really think it's important that we find a way to marry up the semi-annual extraction statements between Fox Canyon and LPB.
Thank you, Michael. Anyone else? All right, any questions or comments from the public on this item? All right, hearing none then, whoops.
Reddy's got something.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna make him walk up here again.
Yes, again.
That's your daily exercise.
Please speak directly into the microphone.
Oh, it's not, you couldn't hear me last time, sorry about that. Chair and members of the board, Reddy Pakala again. I just wanted to have one comment. As we all know, we have above normal rainfall, and State Water Project is allocating 50% of the water at this time. Within the Las Posas Basin, there are some areas where we have storage capacity. I would encourage the Water Master Board to prioritize that and start storing water when the State Water Project is available. We know when it's going to drought hitting again, so take the opportunity to store as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess the question, let's do this in 2 bites. First, is there a motion to adopt the proposed Water Master budget for year 25-26?
I'll move.
And a second?
I'll second.
And a roll call?
Chair West,
Yes.
Director Monroe,
Yes.
Director Long,
Yes.
Director Turnbull,
Yes.
Director Fabio,
Yes.
Okay, next, is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-05, which sets the assessment for next year at $60 an acre foot?
I'll move again.
There's a motion and a second?
I'll second.
And a roll call, please?
Chair West,
Yes.
Director Monroe,
Yes.
Director Long,
Yes.
Director Turnbull,
Yes.
Director Fabio.
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes the agenda items noticed except for the litigation-related closed session items. If there's anybody that wants to address the board and public comment on those closed session items, you're welcome to do so now. Hearing none, we will recess this meeting and go into closed session to return as necessary thereafter. Thank you, everyone.